Hello everyone. This is a second lecture in the Shakespearean studies. This lecture is on Midsummer Night's Dream, and it is written by William Shakespeare. If you're watching on the slide, you see the sketch of theatre. The similar theatre existed in the 16th century England. Now, on the second slide, I want to talk about the question that you see it in the red. And the question is, what was Midsummer Night's Eve? What was Midsummer Night's Eve? So, Midsummer Night's Eve has been celebrated since ancient times. It occurs on summer solstice around June 24th. Plants that bloom at this time were believed to have miraculous healing powers. Bonfires were lit to protect against evil spirits. A Midsummer Night's Dream was written by William Shakespeare in approximately 1595. A Midsummer Night's Dream is a romantic comedy which portrays the adventures of four young lovers of Athens and a group of unprofessional actors in a moonlit forest and their interaction with the fairies who inhabit it. Now, let me tell you about the comedy, what comedy means actually. Comedy, in simple terms, meaning that the play will end happily. Now, romantic comedies, on the other hand, is something different. Romantic comedy is usually based on a mix-up in events or identities. Shakespeare comedies often move towards tragedies, a death, or a lack of resolution, but are resolved in a nick of time. Comedy is going from sadness, from despair to happiness. On the other hand, tragedy is something you're going from happiness to sadness or to despair. Shakespeare's comedies often end with a wedding. Let's talk about the background to the play. A Midsummer Night's Dream is unusual among Shakespeare plays in lacking a specific written source for its plot. Shakespeare, however, may have used other sources for inspiration. The wedding of Theseus and Hippolytus was described in Chaucer's Knight's Tale, and elsewhere. The themes of a daughter who wants to marry against father's desires was a common theme in Roman comedy and shares similarity with Shakespeare's tragic play Romeo and Juliet. Bottom and his friends are cartoons of the unprofessional players of the time, and they satirize many of the theatrical conventions of the time. For example, using young men to play the roles of women. History indicates the prior to Elizabethan times. Fairies were considered evil spirits who stole children and sacrificed them to the devil. Shakespeare, along with other writers, redefined fairies during this time period, turning them into gentle, though mischievous, spirits. Puck, for example, shows off about his ability to perform harmless pranks. The title draws on the summer solstice. Midsummer Eve, occurring June 23rd, and marked by holiday partying and tales of fairies and temporary insanity. There are several theories as to the origin of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Some have theorized that the play might have been written for an aristocratic wedding. Numerous such weddings took place in 1596. Others suggest it was written for the Queen to celebrate the feast day of St. John. The feast of John the Baptist was celebrated as an English festival on June 24th, Midsummer Day. It was believed that on Midsummer Night that the fairies and witches held their festival. To dream about Midsummer Night was to raise up images of the fairies and the witches and other similar creatures and supernatural events. In either case, it would also have been performed at the theatre and later the Globe in London. Obvious plot links exist between A Midsummer Night's Dream and Romeo and Juliet, and critics disagree about which play was written first. Not only do both dramas emphasize the conflict between love and social conventions, but the plot of Pyramus and Thisbe, the play within the play of A Midsummer Night's Dream, parallels that of Romeo and Juliet. Critics have wondered if Romeo and Juliet is a serious reinterpretation of other play, or just the opposite. Perhaps Shakespeare is mocking his tragic love story through the parody of Pyramus and Thisbe, performed by the craftsman in A Midsummer Night's Dream. The main plot. Theseus, the Duke of Athens, is getting married to Hippolyta. Theseus hears Aegeus complain that his daughter Hermia refuses to marry the man he has chosen for her. Theseus tells Aegeus that she must marry Demetrius or choose between death and becoming a nun. A group of workmen is planning to perform a play in honor of Theseus and Hippolyta's wedding. The three walls of A Midsummer Night's Dream are somewhat. The first one is the Athenians. In it, Theseus and his bride Hippolyta. Theseus represents law and order. The other four lovers, Hermia, Helena, Demetrius, and Lysander, they represent adolescent rebellion. Aegeus is the father of Hermia. The main characters, the lovers, the fairies, and the actors. There are three main characters that we can talk about: the lovers, the fairies, and the actors. And also, there are three basic subplots. Subplot A, the lovers. Hermia loves Lysander, but is being forced to marry Demetrius. Demetrius loves Hermia, but she does not love him. Helena loves Demetrius, but he no longer loves her. Helena tells Demetrius that Hermia and Lysander plan to meet in the forest and run away together, hoping this will make him favor her. Demetrius heads into the forest to find them. Helena follows Demetrius into the forest. Now let me show you some of the pictures that are shown in the movie. And these probably can help you to visualize those characters. From the left to right, Helena, Demetrius, Lysander, and Hermia. On the left side of the picture, you see Helena and Demetrius. Down that picture, you see Theseus and Hippolyta, the Athenians. Secondly, I would like to talk about the actors. Bottom, the rather vain leader of the group who wishes to play all the parts. Other members of the cast: Quince, flute; Starveling, snout, snug, Philostrate. Subplot C, the actors. Sorry about that, I brought subplot C first and subplot B after. So sorry about that, it's just a little bit missing. In the subplot C, the actors, the workmen, go into the forest to rehearse the play that they are performing for the Theseus and Hippolyta's wedding. At this point, all three groups are in woods: the lovers, the fairies, and the actors. A series of mix-ups occur when Puck places the love potion from the magic flowers in Lysander's eyes instead of Demetrius. Thirdly, the fairies. Their realm is the woods, where they interact with the humans who wander there. This setting is outside the walls of Athens, and so disorder prevails. In the forest, the kingdom belongs to Oberon the king and his queen Titania, and also there is another character, Puck, that are loyal helper to the Oberon. Now, on this slide, we see on the right side of the picture, which is Bottom and Titania, and on the left side of the picture shows Puck and Oberon. Subplot B, about the fairies. Meanwhile, in the forest, Oberon, king of fairies, is arguing with Titania, the fairy queen, because she wants to adopt the orphan child she has raised from infancy. He devises a plan to use a magic flowers to trick Titania into giving him the child. When the juice from the flower is placed in someone's eyes while sleeping, they fall in love with the first person they see upon waking. He sends his servant Puck to find the magic flower and use it on Titania. While Puck is obtaining the flower, Oberon overhears Helena and Demetrius arguing and decides to help them resolve their dispute with the power of the magic flower. He instructs Puck to find Demetrius and place sunflower nectar in his eyes too. The three worlds come together in woods at night, a place of magic and mystery where illusion reigns. Shakespeare cleverly weaves together not only fairies and lovers, but also social hierarchies with the aristocratic Theseus and the rude mechanicals, or the artisans and the working men. This allows the play to become more lyrical, since it is able to draw on the rougher language of the lower classes as well as the poetry of the noblemen. The setting of the play is in the forest outside of Athens, Greece. There are some important topics in the play. In Act 1, Lysander laments, "The course of a true love never did run smooth." The play deals with the trial of those in love, both in the world of Athenians, and the world of fairies. Because the play is a romantic comedy, the audience can enjoy the conflicts, mix-ups, and misunderstanding without ever doubting that all will turn out well. Other topics beside love: reality versus illusion, friendship, parental authority, dreams, and so on and so forth. The main theme of the play is what is love, actually. How and why do people fall in and out of love? Are lovers in control of their destinies? What is more real, the daylight world of reason and law, or the nighttime world of passion and chaos? The play is a study in contrasts. The contrast aid balance to the play. Some of the contrast in the play. Well, here they are. Reality versus illusion, dreams. Athens versus forest. Day versus night. Order versus confusion. Aristocrats versus workmen. Tall versus short. True love versus false love. Lyrical language versus rough prose. Well, there are some important terms that I want to teach you. I want you to know it. So Shakespeare writes in both verse and prose. Now, you would be asking what exactly verse is. So let me tell you what verse is. Verse is elevated passages, significant ideas, speeches by high-ranking individuals. Then what about the prose then? What is prose? Well, prose is comic scenes, dialect, and broken English, slang, not proper. And speeches by commoners are in prose, written or spoken word. Poetry, what is poetry then? Poetry is usually a blank verse, iambic, pentameter, lines without rhyme. Well, what is iambic pentameter then? Well, they are 5 beats, a feet per line with a light or heavy stress pattern, 10 syllables. Dee-dum, 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 dee-dum. Well, what is rhymes then? Well, rhyme is used a couplet or sonnet to illustrate the close of scenes or important passages. Soliloquy, the actor speaking when alone or regardless of any listeners, of a character's inner thoughts. Now, in the end of this short lecture, I want to give you some assignments. Now, these assignments could be written in your own words and with your own ideas, with your own reflection with the play. By reading it, you can have your effective fallacy to reflect with the play and then have your own ideas and thoughts about it. So your assignment is based on this slide and some of those lines that I wrote it for you. So let me read it to you. Here they are. Think of a time when your desires have conflicted with those of your parents. Think of a time when you liked someone who did not like you back. Think of a time when you had a misunderstanding with your best friend. Well, think of a time when you have been so involved in a movie that you temporarily forgot it was not real. Well, these are the words that you have to be answering. You have to be writing about. Now, for that, the words limit for writing assignment is somewhat between 1,500 and 2,000 words. Well, that's all. And that is how we come to the end of this short lecture. Before I go and close on my PPT and my recording, I just want you to listen to this. Stay homes, go out for walking, come back. Anytime you come back your house, wash your hands. And that would be something very nice in this difficult time of this coronavirus. Thank you for listening. Allah Hafiz.